Welcome to another podcast of Field Talk against urban issues. And now, your host, U.S. Army Ranger, published author and university professor, Dr. Aaron Bryant.
Explain to me how a person is going to be able to sleep. I mean, think about it. You go through some situation that is traumatizing, and you have to continue with your life, adapt to everything that's going on around you. And yet you have this thing going on in your head that's constantly reappearing and it's haunting you. And as you're going through your day to day, the circumstance is that this memory is constantly popping in your head. And yet that's not supposed to be a distraction. And you're supposed to function, interact, act normal. And yet something is traumatized enough that it haunts you. And this is while you're going through an active part of your day. And then in the evening time, you try to slow down to rest. And you're laying there and you don't think that situation that has been haunting you is not going to come at an even rapid, even faster pace, even more continuous than the daytime where you at least had some form of distraction. Come on. You cannot turn it off. Trauma exists because it has a reoccurring reminder of what has damaged you at that moment. The problem is its tentacles continue to be there. And the worst situation about trauma is that not only is it that it's a constant reminder, but those tentacles, they tie into so many different things. For example, if your situation was traumatized because it happened in the evening time, it happened in a certain part of a neighborhood, it happened during a period of time in your life that could be related to something that was important to you. Whenever those particular things come back into play, meaning you're in that same part of that neighborhood or the evening time starting to reappear, guess what? That starts to come back as a reminder. And it's difficult to manage it. It's difficult to try to suppress it. That's why we have medication. Now, does that mean, am I opposed to medication? Absolutely not. Is it a good idea? Well, it depends, because if you remember what I said, everybody is a little different. Everybody's mind is different, their background, history. So it's not for me to say what works and what doesn't work. What I can say is that we have to be aware and sympathetic to be able to understand that this is not an easy thing to just turn off. So to go to bed at night makes it even more so a challenge. You have to slow down the brain and trying to go to sleep. We're trying to rest. Everybody does this. Everybody needs sleep. This is where we allow our body to recover. We've just had this long day of either playing sports or working, dealing with society, whatever it is that the person may do. And it's time to give our body a chance to recover so we can repeat it again. But if you're experiencing trauma of some element, of some degree, now your sleep is being interrupted consistently, probably more so than it ever has, because now you're vulnerable. You know, it's for a veteran, with somebody who has challenges of sleeping, I mean, I average probably 3 hours of sleep. And I know it's not healthy. I realize that. You're supposed to get your sleep. You know, they call it beauty sleep for a reason. You get the wrinkles under your eyes, etc. And I understand that. It's good to sleep. It's a health reason to sleep. So how can you do that if you're suffering from various degrees of trauma? How can you get through it? How can we find a way to avoid this memory of reoccurring in our head that consistently keeps us awake? Now, I paused because I was about to say suppress that memory, but I don't even think that's a good idea. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it doesn't seem like I want to necessarily suppress this, because even the average person realizes that suppressing is not always a good thing, because it can come back even more so. But we want to sleep. We want to be able to rest. How do we achieve that?
Thank you for listening to Field Talk. Please visit us on your favorite podcast channels or YouTube for past and upcoming shows with experts and guest speakers.